evening and a very warm welcome to thorough newspaper analysis. Now today is 9th of August and this entire video series, it's brought to you by LawSikho. So now let's head to the agenda for today. The first point of discussion for today would be the editorial segment, and here this is the article. It is titled as Falling Short and it talks about the Digital Data Protection Bill, its provisions and the areas of concern. And this is in light of the fact that it has been cleared by the Lok Sabha and now it is before the Rajya Sabha. Secondly, we deal with the news update segment. And thirdly, we have a look at the legal news updates for today. So let's start with the why of this article first. The Digital Data Protection Bill for 2023, it was recently, which is in fact on Monday, passed by the Lok Sabha, and now it has to be cleared by the Rajya Sabha. The draft that we saw, which was before the Lok Sabha, or at least it is what it seems, so it has undergone some changes, and these changes is a result of incorporation of the suggestions that were made to the 2022 draft. However, it is not clear as to what these submissions were because the consultation process, it is not brought to the light by the government. So what seems to us is that there are some changes that have been made in the current draft from the draft that we saw last year. What exactly were the submissions? That is not clear to us. Now let's understand the provisions of this bill. So the highlight of this bill is that it provides that the personal data of an individual. Now this individual whose personal data is concerned, it is called the data principal. So the personal data of a data principal, it may be processed by an entity or a person. What do we call this entity or person? Data fiduciary. So the personal data of data principal, it may be processed by the data fiduciary by for a lawful purpose only, and that too once the consent of the data principal is obtained. However, there is a rider here, and in fact we can say there is a flexibility which is provided for, which is this part, which is that it says either you process the personal data of the data principal with consent for a lawful purpose, or without consent also for certain legitimate uses the personal data can be made use of. Now, a question might arise as to what is this eventuality of certain legitimate uses. So, these uses are essentially situations where such personal data, it may be processed without obtaining the data principal's consent, such as by government agencies for these purposes, which is for providing licenses, welfare benefits, permits, services. So all of these are legitimate uses. The bill includes an obligation on part of the data fiduciary, which is that it has to notify the data principal, which is the person concerned whose personal data is concerned. So it has to inform the data principal and also the data protection board if there is personal data breach. So this is also an obligation on the part of the data fiduciary. Now there are other obligations also for data fiduciary, but there is one issue with the bill, and that is that it does not include the need of informing the concerned person who is the data principal about third parties with whom their data it could be shared or the duration of storage. So that is not provided for in the bill, which is again a gap in the bill. Now, here also we need to understand that these Shri Krishna Committee's draft bill that came in 2018, it allowed for certain exemptions to be granted to state institutions from acquiring informed consent from these data principals or to process their data in matters which relate only to security of the state. But what we see in the current draft is, which of course is changed from the 2018 draft, here the ambit of the leeway that has been given to the state agencies or the exemptions that have been given in the 2023 version, they are very wide. So the state is empowered to process the data through wide ranging exemptions, and the government is allowed, in fact, to collect your information which could be used for mass surveillance. So that is also a concern point. Now, also we need to understand that in doing away with the requirement of obtaining consent what has been done is that the bill, it does away with something which is called purpose limitation, which means that it does away with using the data only for specified purposes. Now, here there is another area of concern which we've also highlighted in our previous TNAs. If you remember that this particular bill, it seeks to introduce amendments under the RTI Act, and especially there is a section which is Section 8, and there are clauses of Section 8, particular clause that is concerned. So, what we discussed back then also was that this bill, it seeks to introduce amendments which effectively remove the public interest exemption for disclosure of personal information under the RTI Act. So, if you remember, the RTI Act, it provides that under that Section 8, that if there is a personal data which is sought by an RTI applicant, then there are certain riders, and that disclosure cannot be made. However, there was also an exemption to the non-disclosure of the personal data, and that exemption was the exemption of public interest. So if the public interest demands the disclosure of personal data, then that was allowed in the RTI Act. But what this act does is it removes effectively the public interest exemption, and thereby it has diluted the accountability and transparency in functioning of the government officials. Now, the bill, it also continues to retain a much weaker version of the Regulatory Data Protection Authority, which was there in the 2018 draft, and which means that the data protection board that we have, it will only have adjudicatory, and not regulatory powers. And also, we've also seen that its members will be appointed by the union government. So here, therefore, the author is saying that this bill, it must be thoroughly discussed before the Rajya Sabha, and then only further it must be passed, so that all of these concerns, they are addressed, and these concerns are in fact very legitimate concerns. And now we proceed to the next segment for today. And now we proceed to the national news category for today, and this is our very first update here. The first instance of captive breeding of Himalayan vulture registered. So, in a conversation milestone for the entire nation, a pair of Himalayan vultures, they were successfully bred in captivity at the Assam State Zoo in Guwahati. This was recorded by the Bombay Natural History Society researchers. A few years ago, that is in 2011, it is this particular year when this entire thing started. So in 2011, a group of Himalayan vultures which were rescued from various parts of Assam, they were relocated to an aviary in the Assam State Zoo for the purpose of their treatment. And there, a pair from the group, it mated, and finally, successful hatching was noted in March of this year. The hatchling, it was successfully transferred to an artificial brooding facility for the purpose of making sure that specialized care is given. ISRO transfers satellite bus technology to Bengaluru-based private firm. The Indian Space Research Organization, it has stated that it has successfully transferred the IMS-1 satellite bus technology to a Bengaluru-based private firm which is called the Alpha Design Technologies Private Limited. This transfer, it marks the beginning of satellite bus technologies developed by ISRO being transferred to private entities, ISRO, it has been enabling private players to develop space technologies by facilitating and extending its expertise, thus ensuring both outbound and inbound approaches. And now we come to the sports category for today. First update here pertains to the World University Games. Jyothi Yarraji, she breaks record on the way to bronze. Fresh from her Asian Championships gold medal in Bangkok, where she clocked 13.09 seconds 3 weeks ago, hurdler Jyothi Yarraji, she ran an impressive 12.78 seconds on 4th of August to win a bronze medal at the World University Games in China. Yarraji's medal, it was India's second athletics medal. After Bhavani Bhagwati Yadav, she claimed a bronze in the women's long jump event. Apart from these two women, sprinter Amlan Borgohain, He ran 20.55 seconds, which is his best of the season, to win a bronze in the men's 200-meter event in the evening session. Next up, we have an update from the Rajasthan state. So Rajasthan cabinet, it approves 19 new districts and 3 new divisions. The cabinet for the state of Rajasthan, it has given its approval to a high-level committee's proposal to establish 19 new districts and 3 additional divisions within the state of Rajasthan. This decision aims at enhancing the administrative framework and the accessibility of the public services. As a result, its district count, it has gone from the existing 33 to 50. The changes include the division of Jaipur district, which is the capital city of the state, into Jaipur and Jaipur rural, as well as the division of Jodhpur district into Jodhpur and Jodhpur rural. Apart from these changes, these are the newly added districts. Next up, we have this update. Mrunal Thakur, she is about to receive Diversity Cinema Award at the Indian Film Festival in Melbourne. Actress Mrunal Thakur, she will be honored with the Esteemed Diversity in Cinema Award at the upcoming Indian Film Festival of Melbourne. This recognition, it celebrates her exceptional performances across diverse roles and languages in the Indian cinema. Her ability to don multiple roles, it shines through her impactful portrayal of Sonia in Love Sonia and her captivating performance as Sita Mahalakshmi in her debut Telugu film. Her cinematic journey, it has crossed linguistic barriers and notable contributions in the Hindi, Telugu and Marathi cinema, it has been marked by her. Tamil Nadu, it wins the Best State Award for Organ and Tissue Transplantation. Tamil Nadu has received the award for the Best State Organ and Tissue Transplant Organization from the National Organ and Tissue Transplant Organization, and this was on the occasion of the 13th Indian Organ Donation Day. Since the inception of the deceased organ transplantation program in the state in 2008, there have been as many as 1,700 donors and a total of 700 plus hearts, 800 lungs, 1,500 livers, 3,000 round kidneys, 37 pancreas, 6 small bowels, 2 stomachs, and 4 hands that have been transplanted, thus making a total of 3,000, and apart from these, a total of 3,950 minor organs and tissues that have also been transplanted if we have a look at the official data. Justice Subhasis Talapatra is now the new Chief Justice of Orissa High Court. Justice Talapatra, he took oath as the 33rd Chief Justice of the Orissa High Court, succeeding the former Chief Justice Dr. S. Muralidhar, who superannuated. The oath ceremony, it was administered by Professor Ganeshi Lal, who is the governor of the state of Odisha. This has brought us to the international segment for today, and this is our very first update here. Cambodian King Norodom Sihamoni, he appoints Hun Manet as the new Prime Minister. Cambodia's King Norodom Sihamoni is appointed former Prime Minister Hun Sen's son, who is Hun Manet, as the new Prime Minister of the country. A royal decree was issued by the king, stating therein that he appoints Dr. Hun Manet as the Prime Minister of the Kingdom of Cambodia for the 7th mandate of the Parliament. Russia to launch first moon lander since 1976 in race with Indian spacecraft. Russia will launch its first lunar landing spacecraft in 47 years in a race with India to the south pole of the moon, which is a potential source of water to support a future human presence there. The launch will take place 4 weeks after India sent up its Chandrayaan-3 lunar lander, which is due to touch down at the pole on August 23rd. Moving on to the legal update segment for today, where we have an update from the Honorable Apex Court. The Supreme Court, in the case of V. Senthil Balaji versus the state represented by the Deputy Director and others, has held that any non-compliance of the mandate of Section 19 of the Prevention of Money Laundering Act 2002, which provides for power to arrest, it would vitiate the very arrest itself. The division bench of the Apex Court, it observed, and I quote, any non-compliance of the mandate of Section 19 of the PMLA 2002, which is this Act of Prevention of Money Laundering, it would ensure to the benefit of the person accused, arrested. So for such non-compliance, the competent court shall have the power to initiate action under Section 62 of the Act of 2002. And this has brought us to an end of our TNA. In case you want to get access to our study material, which we provide for free, or the TNA slides that are being used in this video, please feel free to join our Telegram channel. And for the same purpose, you may scan the barcode here, or you may click on the link which is given in the description. The link which is of the quiz, which is based on yesterday's TNA, it is also made available in the description of this very video. These are the point of contacts in case you want to get in touch with LawSikho. Thank you for being with us.